Today, we're about to settle one very sweet debate: 10 cans, 10 contenders. But only one of them will earn the title of the best sweetened condensed milk. The rest, well, some of them are headed straight for the trash. We picked up every can we could find to compare them side by side. We'll judge them on four things: taste, ingredients, texture, and price. And while I'm out hunting for every brand I can find, let me tell you the story of how sweetened condensed milk conquered the world. Today, it's hard to imagine life without a refrigerator. We buy milk, bring it home, and expect it to stay fresh for days. But just a century and a half ago, things were very different. The moment a cow was milked, the clock started ticking. In the summer heat, fresh milk spoiled fast. Transporting it over long distances, especially to growing cities, was almost impossible. Millions of gallons were wasted every year. Then, in the mid-1800s, an American inventor named Gale Borden changed everything. He developed a way to preserve milk without refrigeration. By removing much of its water, adding sugar, and sealing it inside an airtight can, milk could now last for months. It was a revolutionary breakthrough. Before long, sweetened condensed milk had spread across the globe. Its value became obvious almost immediately. The military quickly adopted it. The cans could survive extreme heat, didn't require ice, were compact, packed with calories, and were incredibly easy to transport. Soldiers often opened them with a bayonet, ate straight from the can with a spoon, or sometimes simply drank it. For its time, it was almost the perfect field ration. From there, the journey only got bigger. Ships carried condensed milk across the Atlantic to Europe, South America, Asia, Russia, and eventually almost every corner of the world. What started as a clever solution to one problem became a truly global food. By the early 1900s, sweetened condensed milk was practically everywhere. It traveled with sailors, crossed oceans, and even joined Arctic expeditions. Then something happened that should have ended its story forever. The refrigerator arrived in nearly every home. The original reason for inventing condensed milk had disappeared. You'd think people would stop buying it. Instead, the exact opposite happened. People fell in love with the taste. It was no longer just a way to preserve milk. It had become a dessert all on its own. So, now we know the story. History lesson over. Now the real hunt begins. To keep this comparison as fair as possible, I decided to shop where everyone else does: regular grocery stores. I visited several supermarkets, checking every shelf for sweetened condensed milk. Oh, here's one. Perfect. That's our first contender. Of course, I couldn't skip Costco. We shop there all the time, so Costco became my next stop. Just look at this price. It's a fantastic deal, although they only sell it in a six-pack. Well, I guess we're buying 6 cans today. My next stop was a local Eastern European grocery store, and that's where things got really interesting. An entire shelf filled with sweetened condensed milk from different countries and different manufacturers. This is where I found almost every remaining contender for today's taste test. To keep the comparison consistent, I focused on traditional metal cans. Although, I couldn't resist picking up a few products in different types of packaging just to see how they compared. All right, mission accomplished. We've gathered everything I could find across several different stores. 10 metal cans, all ready for today's showdown. Let's get started. When I first planned this review, I had no intention of judging the packaging. I thought taste would be the only thing that mattered. But after opening the first few cans, I realized I was wrong. Some opened effortlessly. Others required a can opener. And a couple of them fought back so hard that I decided packaging deserved its own category. So I added one more score: ease of opening. Because if a product is frustrating to use, that's part of the overall experience too. So today, every can will be judged not only by its taste, but also by how easy it is to open. There were two basic types of cans. Or at least, it's supposed to be. Watch this. I start opening the can, and the key fails. Now let me show you how it's actually supposed to work. One quick pull, and the lid opens perfectly. Some had a pull key built right into the lid. You hook it, twist, and the lid rolls open. Simple. No problem at all. At first glance, the cans looked almost identical. They even used the same style of pull key. But once you actually start opening them, you realize there's a huge difference between a good one and a bad one. Did you know the food can has a fascinating history of its own? In the early 1800s, food was first sealed inside heavy metal containers. Those original cans were made from thick iron and often had to be opened with a hammer and chisel, or even a bayonet. Over time, the metal became thinner, but dedicated can openers didn't appear until nearly 50 years after canned food was introduced. Later came pull-tab lids, followed by today's easy-open designs, plastic caps, and squeeze containers. But as our test proved, a modern-looking package doesn't always mean an easy-to-use package. Now let me show you one particularly memorable can. The metal was so thin that a regular can opener could barely cut through it. So we ended up with two extremes. One can had a pull tab that refused to pull, and another looked like it should open with a can opener, but didn't. It took far more effort than it should have just to get those two cans open. While I finish wrestling with the rest of these cans, take a second to subscribe. We've got plenty more food comparisons, unusual products, experiments, and road trips across America coming your way. Now, every can is finally open. Some were effortless, others fought back. With that challenge behind us, it's time to score them. Cans with an easy opening pull key earned the highest scores. Regular cans that opened smoothly with a can opener scored slightly lower. The stubborn cans that made us work for every bite finished at the bottom. Price matters too. Great taste is important, but so is getting good value for your money. Cans under $2 received the highest score. The more expensive they became, the fewer points they earned. Now let's find out whether paying more actually gets you a better product. Next comes one of the most interesting parts of this review. What's actually inside each can? The classic recipe is simple: milk and sugar. But did every manufacturer stick to that formula? Contestant number 1, whole milk and sugar. Perfect. This one, not exactly traditional sweetened condensed milk. Sugar, water, palm oil, skim milk powder, vitamins, lactose. Definitely a different recipe. Here's another one with palm oil. Again, not the classic formula. Now this is the real thing: milk and sugar. This one's also traditional, although it uses skim milk. Another solid ingredient list: milk and sugar. Here's another classic recipe: just milk and sugar. Now this one is a different story. Skim milk, reconstructed whey, milk fat substitute, refined vegetable oils, emulsifiers, soy lecithin, rice flour. That's less of a recipe and more of a chemistry experiment. Finally, we're back to the classics: milk and sugar. Products made with only milk and sugar earned the highest rating. The further a recipe drifted from the traditional formula, the more points it lost. And now, the sweetest part of today's competition. To keep the taste test completely fair, we covered every label and assigned each can a number. The tasting cups were numbered the same way, so while judging, we had no idea which brand, country, or price matched each sample. The only things that could influence our decision were appearance and taste. I'll be honest, this challenge wasn't just a test for the condensed milk. It was a test for me too. It took far longer than I ever expected to properly judge these samples. Tasting 10 cans of sweetened condensed milk might sound like a quick job, but it definitely wasn't. The tasting session lasted for hours. After every sample, we had to pause and let our taste buds recover. Otherwise, the next can wouldn't get a fair chance. Our best friend throughout the test was plain drinking water. We cleaned our palate after every single sample. By the end of the day, we'd gone through nearly 3 liters of water. And even that wasn't enough. Some brands were so similar that picking a winner on the first attempt was impossible. So we went back and tasted them again. And again. We changed the tasting order, compared the flavor one more time, checked the aroma again, and paid close attention to the texture. Sometimes a can that seemed like the clear favorite only minutes earlier slipped down the rankings after another comparison. That's exactly why we repeated the final round several times. In the end, the top contenders were incredibly close. We even decided to award the top 3 nearly identical scores because the differences were so small. That doesn't mean our ranking is the only correct one. Taste is personal, and your favorite might be completely different from ours. Our final scores reflect not only flavor, but also texture, ingredients, packaging, price, and the overall experience. The lowest ranked cans became obvious pretty quickly. Some had flaws that were impossible to ignore. A few were simply too sweet. Others had an off flavor that didn't belong there. And some just didn't have the right texture. But choosing the winner, that turned out to be much harder. The difference between the best samples was incredibly small. We kept coming back to the same cans, tasting them again, comparing them again, debating them again. Eventually, only 4 finalists remained. Every one of them deserved a top score. These were the cans that made it to our final round. So we compared them one last time. No rushing, no distractions, just careful tasting. After a long discussion, we reached an unexpected conclusion. The top 3 were so close that ranking them from first to third simply didn't feel fair. So we decided to award all 3 of them the same score. That doesn't mean they're identical. Each one has its own personality. Each one has its own strengths. What surprised us most was just how high the overall quality of the finalists really was. There simply wasn't one clear, undisputed winner. And now, It's time for the reveal. I honestly have no idea which brands are hiding behind these numbers, so I'm just as curious as you are. All right, here we go. Drum roll, please. In 10th place, Sweet Cow. Honestly, I'm not surprised. 9th place, Black and White. 8th place, Chief's Quality. 7th place, Ichnia from Ukraine. 6th place, sample number 10, and that's Walmart's Sweetened Condensed Milk, the reduced fat version. So those are the bottom 5, and yes, a few of these are headed straight for the trash. Now it's time for the top 5. Let's see who made the cut. 5th place, to my surprise, Nasha Malasha, proof that even a questionable ingredient list can still produce a tasty product. 4th place, the Mexican brand. And now, only our top 3 remain. 3rd place, Costco's Sweetened Condensed Milk. 2nd place, Bundy, and sharing the top score, Dovgan. Now you know the results, but remember, we didn't judge these products on taste alone. We also scored texture, thickness, smoothness, and the overall eating experience. We even decided to award the top 3 nearly identical scores because the differences were so small. That doesn't mean our ranking is the only correct one. Taste is personal, and your favorite might be completely different from ours. Our final scores reflect not only flavor, but also texture, ingredients, packaging, price, and the overall experience. If you've made it all the way to the end, thank you for watching. If you enjoy honest food comparisons, subscribe to the channel. We've got many more taste tests, unusual products, and road trips across America coming soon.